I've been cycling solo through forest trails for over a decade. That's the one way I've found to truly silence my thoughts. I'm not into group rides, races, or apps that track every heartbeat. I just want silence, dirt, and a trail that disappears into trees. That's what drew me to the Kettle Moraine State Forest in Wisconsin last October. I'd been there before, mostly the South Unit, but this time I wanted to try a lesser known area on the eastern edge. Someone in a biking forum mentioned a trail that was technically unlisted but still maintained. That caught my interest. I like isolation. I arrived late in the day. Around 4:30 p.m., the sun was low, casting those long, warm rays through the trees. The trailhead wasn't marked on any digital map, but there was a wooden post where the gravel shoulder met the forest, carved by hand. Perimeter loop, 9.7 miles. Perfect. That was exactly the kind of ride I wanted before sunset. I clipped in, crossed into the trees, and started pedaling. The trail was beautiful, tight, winding single track through dense hardwoods and occasional pines. It didn't feel abandoned, just undisturbed. I didn't see a single person, hear a single car, or catch a single bird call. Just the sound of my tires and the wind through leaves. 15 minutes in, I saw the wooden sign again. Perimeter loop, 9.7 miles. Same carving, same knot in the post. I stopped, confused. I checked my watch. There was no way I'd already looped 9 miles. I'd barely broken a sweat. I shook it off. Maybe there was a mirrored trail. Maybe the loop crossed itself. I kept going. About 10 minutes later, the same sign again. Now I stopped completely. Same. Exact post. Same scratch in the wood. Same broken branch lying across the trail just before it. Not just deja vu. The exact same location. I stood there for a minute, straddling the bike, heart starting to race. I wasn't scared yet, just unsettled. Maybe I missed a turn. Maybe I was overtired. I decided to keep going, carefully marking landmarks in my mind. A downed tree with fungus, a narrow slope with exposed roots, a bend shaped like an S-curve, and yet, 20 minutes later, I rolled past that same damn sign. Third time, I stopped, turned around to go back the way I came. That's when I realized the trail behind me didn't look familiar at all. The tree line had changed. The air felt tighter, like a room with the windows closed. Then I heard a voice, not loud, not echoing, just a calm whisper behind me. Again. I whipped around. No one. The trail was empty. Still, I stood frozen, breath shallow, arms tingling with goosebumps. I didn't call out. I just started pedaling. Hard. Every root felt sharper. Every turn more narrow. The trees grew closer together. The light dimmed, fast, like the sun had dropped straight out of the sky. I passed the sign again. Fourth time. This time, I didn't stop. I rode like hell. I didn't care if I crashed. I just needed off that trail. I started screaming as I pedaled. Not words, just raw sound. I don't know why. I just needed to break the silence. Eventually, finally, the trail widened. The trees opened, and I burst into a clearing. There was my car, sitting exactly where I had left it, alone. Still, the sun was rising. It had been over 12 hours since I'd entered the trail. My phone was in the car, fully charged. Still showing 4:38 p.m. The day before, I opened my backpack and found something that made my stomach turn. My granola bar. The one I'd eaten mid-ride was still sealed. My water bottle was still full. I left without checking anything else. I've tried to find that loop again. Went back twice. Nothing. No post. No trailhead. Nothing but trees and silence. Sometimes, in the quietest moments before I sleep, I hear that voice again, calm, inescapable, again. I used to love night rides, not city rides. I'm talking real night rides, out past the glow of neighborhoods and street lamps. Just you, your wheels, and whatever's in the dark with you. I'd throw on a headlamp, pack light, and hit the farm. Roads behind my old town in Iowa, They stretched for miles between cornfields and empty barns. At night, it was just dirt, wind, and moonlight. Peaceful until it double in single quotes T. This happened in 2018. I'd just finished a long week, and instead of crashing early, I decided to ride out past Highway 92. I knew a route that looped behind an old grain elevator and through 2 miles of cornfield before circling back to the state road. I'd done it dozens of times. It was around 11 p.m. The moon was low but bright, casting that pale blue tone across everything. The stalks in the cornfield stood tall and still, rustling only when the wind shifted. About a mile into the ride, I noticed something strange. A light in the corn. Not headlights. Not a flashlight. Just a soft, amber glow, deep inside the rows. To my left, I slowed the bike. Looked again. Still, there. At first, I thought maybe it was a combine left out there with its light on. But it didn't flicker or move. It just pulsed. I figured I'd ride closer and check it out. But the second I stopped pedaling and turned toward the rows, the light blinked out. Gone. The trail was quiet again. I shrugged it off. Maybe it was a reflection. Maybe someone hunting. I kept riding. Half a mile later, another light. Now to my right, then another, then two more, flickering in and out like fireflies, but stronger, unnatural. Perfectly round. No beams. Just hovering glows tucked deep in the corn, always at the edge of sight. This time, I stopped cold. It was like they were following me. I waited. And then I heard it. A sound I can't describe. Low, guttural, like breath, and metal and soil all mixing into one sound. Moving slowly through the stalks. Not toward me. Around me. I backed the bike up, turned on my headlamp, and swept a beam across the field. Nothing. I clipped back in and started pedaling fast. No music. No stopping. Just breath and motion and pure adrenaline. Then my headlamp went out. No flicker. No warning. Just off. I nearly crashed from panic alone. The only light left was the moon and those glowing orbs. Now much closer. Some of them were right at the edge of the road. I didn't look at them. I didn't speak. I just rode until the cornfields gave way to open road. And then gone. All of it. Like someone turned off the scene. I didn't stop until I hit the first intersection with actual traffic. I told a local farmer the next week what I'd seen, not expecting much. But he didn't laugh. He just said, "You rode out past Braxton. Grows, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah." He nodded. Those fields don't grow right anymore. Haven't since 94. Too many kids see lights and wander in. I asked what they were. He just said, "Don't follow them." I haven't ridden at night since. Sometimes I think about turning my light off again, just to see if they're still out there. But I already know the answer. I've never liked tunnels. Even as a kid, I'd hold my breath going through them. Something about being boxed in. No sky, no exit you can see. Always got to me. So naturally, I avoided any biking trails with tunnels until last summer. It was mid-July, and I'd taken a weekend trip to ride part of the Great Allegheny Passage out near Pennsylvania. It's a beautiful route, all trees, bridges, and abandoned rail lines turned into trails. The plan was simple. Ride a 20-mile stretch from Rockwood to Myersdale, camp near the river, and head back in the morning. I was alone. As usual. About 9 miles in, the sun started to dip. That rich orange hour when the woods glow and the world gets quiet. I was enjoying the stillness when I saw a sign up ahead. Borden Tunnel, 957 feet. I stopped. I hadn't realized this route had a tunnel. I pulled out my map and, sure enough, there it was. Nearly 1,000 feet of darkness with a slight curve, meaning you wouldn't see the exit until you were almost through. I stood there for a minute, hands on the bars, debating. It was getting late. The forest was cooling down. The bugs were already out. I didn't want to turn back. So I clipped on my headlamp, switched on my bike light, and pedaled in. The second I entered, everything changed. The temperature dropped like a stone. The air was damp and heavy, like breathing inside a cave. My light barely pierced the darkness ahead, just enough to see the trail and the curve in the distance. About 30 feet in, my rear tire made a strange sound, a sharp clack like hitting metal. I stopped and looked down. Embedded in the gravel was a railroad spike. Rusted. Old. Not unusual, I guess given the trail's history. But what made my stomach turn was that it was perfectly centered on the trail, like someone had placed it there. I pocketed it without thinking. Habit. I collect old junk sometimes. I kept riding. About halfway through, the sound changed. You know how tunnels echo? Well, this one didn't. Not anymore. My tires stopped making sound. The tunnel got too quiet, like someone had pressed mute on the world. No chain noise. No breathing. Just still. Then came the whisper. One word. Closer. I froze. Stopped the bike. My headlamp beam wobbled, catching nothing but gray walls. I turned around. Nothing behind me. Just the tunnel entrance, glowing faintly orange in the distance. The word came again. Louder this time. Got closer. I clipped in and bolted forward. I don't know why I didn't go back. Fear, instinct, pride. But I rode harder than I ever have in my life. As I hit the final bend, my front light caught something. A figure, not a person. A silhouette, standing just beside the path, pressed flat against the tunnel wall, facing me, unmoving. I blinked, and it was gone. The moment I broke into daylight, I nearly crashed into the gravel. My hands were shaking so bad I couldn't grip the brakes. I looked back. The tunnel entrance was dark. Too dark, like it swallowed all light. I camped at night with my fire as close as I could to the river. Didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined someone standing just beyond the light. In the morning, I pulled out the railroad spike. It was gone. In its place, wrapped in a bit of old red cloth, was a different spike, newer, cleaner, and sharpened at the tip like a weapon. I left it there, under a rock by the river. I haven't been back on that trail. And I never ride into tunnels alone anymore. Some places want you closer, just so they can keep you.